Dapol's Class 68 is a bit of a double-edged sword. Let's take a look at this modern locomotive in closer detail. Hey guys, welcome back to Proper Chuffed. My name's Hilton and I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. That is half the fun of this, isn't it? Before I get started, I just want to say a huge thank you. I've received an amazing gift from one of my subscribers, Star Wars Jay. Now Jay does actually do Star Wars content and has quite a considerable channel on 7,000 subscribers. So if you're a Star Wars fan, please do go check him out. But Jay has kindly sent me this amazing Akira scale Siphon G wagon. I think this is the medical one, obviously based on that cross. But Jay, I'm like very humbled. I did not get into this YouTube thing expecting somebody to send me something. But dude, this is incredible. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. And I will hopefully be able to show it off with a equally cool Great Western locomotive so that, you know, it really does it justice. But yeah, I just want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means a hell of a lot that you would send me something like this. It's super, super cool. Today, we're taking a look at Dapol's Class 68, a more modern locomotive. Now, I know this channel is called Proper Chuffed, and I am generally a steam guy. And I know there've been a lot of diesels appearing lately. So I just want to assure you, don't worry, we're going back to steam in a big way very, very soon. But without further ado, let's dive into the Dapol Class 68. Right, so here we are with the Dapol Class 68. Now, a bit of a modern traction spin here on the usual content that I have. I'm quite curious. This is something that I've really wanted for quite some time. I've had my eye on it because it's the sort of Scotrail livery of the 68. Something a little bit more modern for my layout. So quite excited to get my hands on this finally. I see that the newer batch of the Dapols don't use the Scotrail livery. They've got, I think, a couple different other variations. So I had to search far and wide for this, but eventually managed to find it on Ellis Clark trains. So thank you to them, and always know that I'm getting something that's, you know, reasonably well looked after. It is a secondhand model, so bear that in mind when we take a closer look at it. Some of the things may have been attached or damaged or whatever by an owner. You never know what you're gonna get, but Ellis Clark do a fairly good job when they put these together. Right, so we have 3 different pieces of information here from Dapol. The first is the sort of DCC guide here, which is included in A4. Interesting choice. Second is the repair warranty for the locomotive. And the third is a sort of owner's guide. It's a bit of an interesting choice using A4 paper. I don't know if this is actually the original paperwork that comes with this model, or whether this was printed by Ellis Clark. Not entirely sure. So if you've got one of these, do let me know. Okay. Oh man, I can really see the livery. It's so cool. I'm so excited to take a look at this because, man, I honestly think that the Scotrail livery is the best modern livery on UK rail network, in my humble opinion. What is your opinion? I'd love to know what you guys think is the best sort of modern livery running around the UK right now. But for me, it's the Scotrail. This is heavy. This is really, really heavy. So quite excited to see what's inside the clamshell here. Whew, that is a beefy boy. That's a weighty locomotive. Jeepers, Dapol have not spared any expense here. There is a lot of detail going on, especially on the lower frame. The bogies are fantastic looking. I must say, I'm very impressed, and the sheer amount of labels and decals that have been applied here are you know, rather impressive. The entire chassis is obviously a full die-cast metal, and that's quite weighty. A couple plastic bits added here and there, couple etched parts that have been added, especially to the top here where the grills are and the fans. That looks absolutely fantastic. A very unique looking locomotive, very Euro in many regards, I think. I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. You know, the livery application here is second to none. I think Dapol have done a really, really good job. Looks like the previous owner has added the etched nameplates, and there are a couple of glue marks that have, you know, a bit of residue that's around those. Here and there I can see a couple glue marks, but I'm assuming that is by the owner and not by Dapol. It's always a bit of a difficult one when you take a look at a second-hand locomotive. Regardless, I'm very impressed with it overall. It'll look absolutely smashing with a light dusting or weathering. I'll look forward to doing that in the future on one of the proper mucked episodes. Anyways, let's dive in, get a bit of history on the 68 and take a closer look at this model and see what it's all about. The Class 68 was designed as a response to the need for new high-performance locomotives to meet the growing demand for both passenger and freight services. By the early 2010s, the UK's aging fleet of locomotives, including those used by freight operators and passenger rail services, was showing its age. DRS, a freight and logistics company, recognized the need for a new type of locomotive that could handle various types of services, including intermodal freight and high-speed passenger duties. The Class 68s were derived from Voslow's Eurolight platform, adapted specifically to meet the UK's loading gauge and operational requirements. They were built at Voslow's plant in Spain. The initial order was for 15 units, but as their popularity grew, additional units were ordered by DRS, and the class eventually became popular with other operators. Class 68 is powered by a 3,800 Caterpillar C175-16 V16 diesel engine, known for its power and efficiency. This engine allows the Class 68 to achieve a top speed of 100 miles an hour, making it suitable for both high-speed passenger and freight work. The versatility of the 68 has made it suitable for a range of operations. Initially, the locomotives were used mainly for freight services by DRS, but soon they began to appear on passenger services as well. Notably, Chiltern Railways leased a number of 68s to operate express services between London Marylebone and Birmingham, offering an alternative to electric units and providing redundancy for the route. Class 68s were also used by other operators, including TPE for intercity services across northern England. TPE operates them with a Mark 5A coaching stock, forming the backbone of their high-speed intercity diesel services on non-electrified routes. One distinctive feature of the 68 is its modern angular cab, giving it a unique and aggressive appearance compared to earlier diesels. This design, combined with its streamlined shape and LED lighting, makes the Class 68 a visually striking locomotive well suited to represent the modern image of UK rail. Since their introduction, the Class 68s have earned a reputation for reliability and versatility, becoming favourites among railway enthusiasts. Their success also led to the development of the Class 88 dual-mode diesel and electric version based on the Class 68 platform. Dapol's 68 is a striking machine, especially in the Scotrail livery. This is an impressive machine in real life, and Dapol have done a very good job of bringing it to life in 00. Let's start at the front and take a closer look. Straight off the bat, I think Dapol have nailed the shape of the 68, which makes it such a distinctive locomotive. However, it's not without a few flaws. Looking closer, it seems we have a bit of bleed from the yellow panels into the main livery on the front. This, mixed with the blue, has created a bit of an odd green blemish, which is rather unsightly. While the application in most other areas is fairly crisp, this actually can't be ignored, sadly. The windscreen wiper is a delicate bit of kit and looks smashing on the broad windscreen, which is beautifully flush against the body. Looking at the top and main headlights, these look considerably more model-like, with a rather plastic finish to them that leaves it looking like these were applied by an amateur modeler, sadly. The high beam glazing in particular looks like it's got some flashing on it that wasn't trimmed properly prior to application. This is rather unfortunate. The buffer beam is fitted with numerous details and pipework, though being a second-hand model, I cannot safely say if this was done by Dapol or the previous owner, but I do understand that Dapol do a fair bit of this prior to shipping. The distinct angular buffers are sprung, if you care, and really do look the part on this model. Moving along to the sides, and we're presented with the cab handrails, which to my eye look a little bit too thick to be scale correct. This applies to the rails around the front of the cab too. However, the steps on both the buffer beam and cab side entrance look far more accurate. As we move along, the superb printed detail of this livery cannot be ignored. Dapol have done an exceptional job here and really bring the distinct saltire scheme to life. A gander at the bogies and lower half reveals even more printed detail, and these are accentuated by numerous extra fitted parts that look outstanding in scale. Moving along the sides, we're presented with recessed detail inside a few of the etched grills, as well as some distinct panel riveting and detail. Again, even more printed detail here, including labels, logos, data panels on the fuel tanks and lower sections of the engine. Rather impressive. Moving up, we've got a really lovely roof with two large extraction fans that are both etched and look smashing. The exhaust unit has a pretty distinct seam line on it, however, which detracts a little from the top-down quality this has presented so far. Paint application up here is clean and crisp, however, and overall it's a great representation of this modern engine. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, this 68, with some brilliant livery application marred by a few smaller blemishes that smack of a lack of quality control. With a rather heavy die-cast chassis, the 68 weighs in at an impressive 720 grams and features a 21-pin DCC socket. It's driven by a centrally mounted twin flywheel motor that drives all 4 axles. This model represents the first batch in the series, and I picked it up secondhand for £90. The new versions are priced as follows from most retailers. The DCC Ready setting you back £153, DCC Fitted £182, and the DCC Sound Fitted with ESU is £255. On track with the 68, and although this is a second-hand model, I'm not entirely sure when it last ran, and as such I'll treat it with a run-in shortly. I fitted this with HM7000 for a bit more realism, and I've used the Hornby Class 67 sound profile for it. It goes without saying, but the Class 68 features directional lights as well as a cab light, which, let's be honest, isn't ideal as it reveals a rather rudimentary and poorly detailed cab. Putting her under power, the first thing I notice is the distinctly quiet motor, which is smooth and runs effortlessly even in speed step 1. A marvelous crawl, that twin flywheel doing the heavy lifting in what is a heavy model. Remember, this weighs in at 720 grams, so this is rather impressive. Both forwards and backwards, the 68 does not struggle here. But let's switch on the sound, run her in, and get her coupled up to some coaches. So I specifically picked up the set of Mark II coaches following my trip to Scotland in preparation for this specific model. This service, once coupled together, will feature on my Shadow mainline, which is designed to be only visible on the main straight of the layout, popping in briefly to stop at Dunroman Station before continuing on to Inverness from Glasgow. Overkill? Maybe, but I think the saltire livery is easily the best in the UK, and I felt that this really brought the layout together, tying that modern setting to the West Highlands. You'll be happy to know that I even did a fair bit of research when putting this rake together, making sure it was an authentic formation. Anyways, back to the 68, we'll put her on the line and get to some running tests. Over any of the point work I have, the 68 has no hassles whatsoever, and its pulling power up the 1% incline is not marred at all. It delivers smooth, consistent power throughout the speed range, and is really one of those models that leaves little to be desired. Dapol's 68 certainly has the power to perform and the looks to impress, and I really can't be too harsh on this particular model for £90. However, even at the new price of £152 DCC ready, I would struggle to complain even with a few livery blemishes. If you're modeling modern traction in 00, it's almost a no-brainer, and I expect it will remain a popular offering going forward into the future. So for 90 bucks as a second-hand model, I think that's a really good deal. Still, as I mentioned, even at the brand new price of £153, this for me feels like a bargain. It's a well-detailed and very robust locomotive, and I feel like it would stand out on any modern traction layout. This is my first experience with a Dapol locomotive, and I've been impressed with it overall. I hope you guys enjoyed this overview, and if you did, please consider dropping me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed and you enjoy this content and want to see more of it, drop me a subscribe. Until I see you next time, keep your engines fired and stay on track. All the best.